Hello and welcome back to J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I am your man J.P. I took a little bit of time off. I just took like a week off just because I had so much stuff going on. But today we're going to continue on our WrestleMania journey. I decided that I'm just going to keep rolling with the WrestleManias until I get sick of it. So on the last video I covered WrestleMania 7 and 8, both on the same video, but this next one merits its own video because the next one is considered to be one of the worst WrestleManias ever. Now, I liked it, but then again, I'm weird, but I can certainly understand why most fans think that it was the worst one ever. And I mean, I don't have a DVD, but I do have this WrestleMania 9 from Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada. It was 1993. It was the end of an era. And when I say that, I mean that this was basically, Hulk Hogan was basically on his way out of the WWF. So, WrestleMania 9 was going to be Hulk Hogan's last WrestleMania appearance for many years after that. And it was the end of his initial run in the WWF. So, this holds some big significance in that regard. However, if you look at the card on this event, it really wasn't very good. The matches really weren't very good. And, because it was an outdoor event, which is not what makes it bad, but it was at Caesar's Palace, which is a casino. And a lot of times these casinos will give away tickets to certain events in the local area for people that are staying at their hotel. Well, WrestleMania was one of the events that they gave tickets to, and some of the people in the audience weren't really wrestling fans, so they weren't really invested in any of the storylines or any of the matches. So the crowd wasn't as loud as it could have been, but who knows what could have been had all the fans been, fans. So, but let's look at this card. So it doesn't say it on the back here, it just talks about the event, but I'm just going from memory. And I might actually go back and watch this, but okay, so when I say watch this, I mean watch it on Peacock. I don't actually have a VHS player to play these on. So anyway, so I believe the opening match was an Intercontinental Championship match as Shawn Michaels would defend the title against Tatanka. Now, Tatanka at that point was undefeated. He was the undefeated Native American Tatanka. And Shawn Michaels was a heel champion who had been previously managed by Sensational Sherry. But in this event, well, actually, let's go back. So, the reason why Sensational Sherry was not his manager anymore by this time was because there was an altercation on Monday Night Raw between Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, his former partner, where Sensational Sherry got caught in the scuffle and got hit in the head with a mirror and it shattered on her head. She was out of action for a long time. So she started appearing at Shawn Michaels matches hoping that he would lose. And so she shows up at WrestleMania 9. However, Luna Vachon also shows up, and her and Sherry kind of get into it, and they get involved in the match, and Tatanka ends up winning the match, but by countout. Because I don't think the WWF really wanted to put the belt on Tatanka, but they also didn't want him to lose just yet. So a countout win was a way to make Tatanka look strong without winning the title. So, anyway, and so the next match on the card was actually probably my favorite one of all the matches on this particular event because it was a tag team match. The Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott, taking on the Head Shrinkers. And Fatu and Samu, I believe, were the Head Shrinkers. And that was a pretty good match. It was the only match on the card where it ended clean, where the Steiner brothers got a legit win via a Frankensteiner. So that was a pretty good match. I liked it. But then we had a bunch of like matches where the finish was just all wonky and terrible, including a match. It was the Narcissist Lex Luger and Mr. Perfect. And that match, the match itself was okay, but hold on. The match itself was okay, but at the end, the finish was terrible because Lex Luger had Mr. Perfect pinned, but Mr. Perfect's legs were on the second rope. So the referee should have broken the count, but the referee didn't. He didn't see that Mr. Perfect's legs were on the ropes. He just counted the 3. Luger got the win, and while Mr. Perfect is arguing with the referee, Luger hits Perfect with his bionic forearm, which, come to find out later on, that Luger actually had a metal plate in his forearm because of a motorcycle accident. So he knocked Mr. Perfect clean out, goes away from the ring. Mr. Perfect finally comes to, runs to the back, confronts Lex Luger, but gets attacked by Shawn Michaels, thus starting a feud between Mr. Perfect and Shawn Michaels. Lex Luger would later turn babyface, and they tried to make him like the next Hulk Hogan, but the audience just wasn't having. Anyway, so then there was another interesting match. It was Doink the Clown versus Crush. Now Crush was a babyface, big 300-pound Hawaiian, and then there was Doink the Clown, an evil clown that would come to the ring during Crush matches and mess with all the kids and play tricks on them and laugh at them. So Crush didn't like that. So he beat up Doink. So then Doink shows up the next week with his arm in a cast, like, oh no, you were right, I shouldn't have done that, I should, here's a flower. So then Crush takes the flower reluctantly, continues to, shake the hands of the kids at ringside, and then Doink pulls a fake arm out and starts beating Crush with a fake arm, thus setting up this match at WrestleMania. So Crush has the match well in hand. Doink, though, keeps trying to slip under the ring for some reason, but Crush keeps pulling him out. But it gets to the point where Doink is able to get under the ring, but then a second Doink appears. At this point, the referee, Joey Marella, is knocked out completely. The second Doink and the first Doink gang up on Crush. They double team him. They knock him out. Second Doink disappears under the ring, just in time for the first Doink to cover Crush. Joey Marella counts 1, 2, 3. Doink gets the win. Walks away from the ring. Crush eventually goes away from the ring, but a second referee comes down to the ring and tells Joey Marella, hey, there was another Doink that came from under the ring. So they both look under the ring, and then the second Doink was gone. So we all know that he was still under the ring, but whatever. So then we had the first of 2 main event matches. It was a tag team match. This was Hulk Hogan's, it was supposed to be Hulk Hogan's WrestleMania Swan Song, but later on, he gets another one. But we'll talk about this one. So, Brutus the Barber Beefcake was in a parasailing accident, damaging his face, so he had to walk around wearing this metal mask. But that was just what really happened to him. What actually happened to him was that, or what happened to him on Raw, was that Money Incorporated, IRS and Ted DiBiase, they double-teamed Brutus, hit him with the face with a briefcase. That's when Jimmy Hart turned babyface and started managing Brutus Beefcake and Hulk Hogan. So that sets up the match for WrestleMania. Tag Team Championship match. The Money Incorporated taking on the Mega Maniacs, Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake. So Money Incorporated ended up winning by disqualification, thus saving their title. They retain their titles. So then, Hulk Hogan poses and him and Brutus have fun in the ring before they leave. So then, there was another single match. It was an Undertaker match. Now the Undertaker in the Royal Rumble, the Undertaker had cleared the ring, but an 8-foot tall Argentinian or somebody from Argentina named Giant Gonzalez, who was managed by Harvey Whippleman, came down to the ring, beat up the Undertaker, left him laying, and this guy had a naked man skin suit on. It looked ridiculous, but whatever, it's wrestling. So he leaves, and the Undertaker's just laid out. So here at WrestleMania 9, it's Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez. Now, in the closing moments of this match, Giant Gonzalez takes out a cloth, pours chloroform on it, and knocks the Undertaker out with chloroform. So therefore, he's disqualified. The Undertaker still gets the win, but he's carried out on a stretcher. So while Giant Gonzalez is celebrating in the ring, Undertaker comes out, gets back in the ring, fights off Giant Gonzalez, chases him away, and the Undertaker stands victorious in the ring. So then there was another single match. A newcomer, Razor Ramon, who made his debut, I think, the year before, 1992. But here he is in 1993 at his WrestleMania debut against Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund had returned after being gone for years, since the early 80s, and now he's back in the early 90s, and he wants another shot, another run in the WWF. Possibly maybe win the WWF title once again to avenge his loss years before to the Iron Sheik. So here he is against Bob Backlund at WrestleMania, or here he is against Razor Ramon at WrestleMania, I should say. But Razor Ramon gets the win, gets him with a small package, wins the match. And that's another match that was kind of lame. Doink Crush match was lame finish. Perfect and Lex Luger match had a lame finish. So anyway, Razor Ramon, at least Razor Ramon beat Bob Backlund clean with a small package, but it would have been better had he got the Razor's Edge in, but what do I know? I'm just a fan. So anyway, so that means it was then time for the main event. Yokozuna, who had won the Royal Rumble, won the title shot at Bret Hart. So Bret the Hitman Hart comes out. Yokozuna's there with Mr. Fuji, and they have a really great match. Really, really great match. And Bret Hart made Yokozuna look good. Yokozuna made Bret Hart look good. But then Bret Hart got Yokozuna in the sharpshooter. Mr. Fuji threw salt in Bret's eyes. Yokozuna makes the cover 1, 2, 3. Yokozuna becomes the champion. Okay. So moments later, after Bret Hart's out of the ring holding his eyes, he doesn't know what's going on, Hulk Hogan comes out to check on Bret. And so then, while he's down there checking on Bret, Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji challenge Hulk Hogan to come in to fight Yokozuna. At first, Hogan says, "No, I'm just going to help my friend Bret to the back." So then they said, "Come on, Hulk, we'll put the title on the line right here, right now, if you come in and wrestle me." So then Bret Hart tells Hulk, go, get in there. So Hulk goes in there. He beats Yokozuna. He wins the title. He walks away from WrestleMania 9 as the champion. So here's where things get kind of messy backstage. This is kind of where Bret Hart kind of lost respect for Hulk, because there was this thing where, it was said that it was Hulk's idea to win the title, and then, I don't know, maybe it was Vince's idea. Nevertheless, a lot of people think that Yokozuna should have just walked away with the title and have that be the end of the Mania, and have, Bret eventually feud with Yokozuna. But Hulk, had creative control over his character, and he wanted to win the title one more time so he could wrestle Yokozuna, so he could go on a summer tour and wrestle Yokozuna. But that didn't really happen. So Hulk Hogan wins the title, only to lose it like a month or two later at the King of the Ring. But to his credit, he did sell for Yokozuna, and he did make Yokozuna look like $1 million. But if it were me, I would have found a way for maybe Hulk Hogan. Maybe the same thing happens at WrestleMania 9, only Hulk doesn't win the title. He beats Yoko, but maybe it's a count out. He comes out the next night on Raw and says, Yokozuna, I can beat you. I'm the Hulkster, and I can beat you. But then Bret Hart comes out and says, now wait a minute, Hulk Hogan, I respect you, but I'm the former champ here. If anybody gets a first contendership, it's me. It should be me. I should have that match. So then there's a scuffle, so maybe that could set up a match between Hulk and Bret. Hulk and Bret could wrestle. Bret goes over. Bret becomes a #1 contender. But then again, I'm not a booker. I don't know these things. I don't know. I've never worked a single day in wrestling. I'm just a fan that does silly videos on YouTube and talks about wrestling. So that was WrestleMania 9. Now again, I can totally understand why a lot of fans think it was the worst one of all time. I mean, it wasn't my favorite one. I did enjoy it to some degree. I enjoyed it because it was the end of an era. It was basically the end of the Hulk Hogan era in the WWF, but the matches, they really weren't very good. The card really wasn't very good, and it just didn't feel as big and epic as the rest of the WrestleManias did. So it felt kind of small. The fact that it was a small outdoor venue really didn't help. So, I don't know. WrestleMania 9 overall that's just, it is what it is. So, I do have something else to tell you, and that is I've recently started getting back into wrestling. I went on Peacock, and I've been seeing kind of certain things on social media, because I still follow WWE social media. And some of the stuff actually kind of intrigues me. So I caught up on a Monday Night Raw and a SmackDown and an NXT. And, actually, some stuff I actually really like. So I'm back in it. So it's fun stuff. Now that Vince McMahon is gone, I think that WWF or WWE can really get their creative juices flowing. I think Triple H is in charge of creative now. That gives him some room to actually bring some creativity back to wrestling and give us, the fans, kind of what we want, and go back to long-term storytelling and emphasize guys that the fans actually like and tell stories that the fans actually want to see. So we'll see what happens. I may not be in it for very long, but there's certainly some intriguing things happening just on the horizon. Hopefully there are certain guys that will get their big push. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, so starting next time, I'm going to cover WrestleMania 10. I'll probably record that right after this. But then after that, we're going to look, since my action figure collection has expanded since the last time we looked at them, I'm going to take like one figure at a time, and then I'm going to profile that figure. Not necessarily the wrestler, but maybe the figure, and maybe talk about some memories I have with that figure and some of the ways that I would use that figure in storylines and stuff. I'll tell you like what I like about the particular figure. So anyway, and I'll probably start with the gloobs on that one. Anyway, so stay tuned. WrestleMania 10's coming up. So if you're new here, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time.